This is about our children and their future, not to mention the future of our region and of our nation. The future is looking brighter for the metropolitan economy, with new businesses moving in, a strengthening real estate market, and aggressive attacks on crime and other social problems that have attracted national attention. But our economy also faces major changes and major challenges when it comes to educating our children for a drastically changing world, as the industrial age is replaced by the information age. More and more voices are saying it is time to do more. Time to better prepare our children for that changing world. It is time, they say, to help ensure their future well-being and the well-being of this community by making our students priority number one. For decades, we have asked our schools and our teachers to meet several essential goals for education: to develop students' intellect, to transmit culture and values, to prepare them for citizenship, and to prepare them for higher education. But in a radically changing economic landscape, another basic goal should be to connect their knowledge with productive employment. So while we pursue those essential educational goals, we also have to make sure we're giving students the adequate skills they need to survive and prosper in a more challenging workplace.
The most important things would be very strong basic communication skills, both written and verbal, and a solid grounding in the use of personal computers. Without that, it's very difficult to function in today's world. In our bank, for example, virtually every job in the bank requires the use of a personal computer. We hire people from across the region. We operate in various areas within the region. It can only be done on a regional basis.
Consider, for example, the fact that human knowledge is doubling every 2 years, and more scientific knowledge has been created in the past decade than all of human history. Computer power is doubling every 9 months, while the size of the internet doubles every year. Our students will be competing in a global economy where academic skills in the workplace already exceed the academic skills needed for college. They will compete against Asian and European students who spend more time in school and more time learning to apply their essential knowledge to the real world. That is why our assumptions about what we teach and how we teach have to change. So says Xavier University President Norman Francis, who sat on the 1983 presidential panel, which drafted the prophetic Nation at Risk report.
We weren't just saying we wanted everybody to go to college, but the same skills that you need to go to college are the same skills you need today to work in a workplace. Technology being what it is, you can't drive a truck unless you know how to use the computer skills and the like. So it is extremely critical. If I had to retitle A Nation at Risk, I would say it's much more at risk than ever before.
Schools should not be expected to meet these added challenges alone. We must all get involved. To make our students priority number one, our schools have to respond to changing times, with a curriculum developed only after great input from parents and teachers, business and civic leaders. Everyone, in other words, with a stake in bettering our schools.
What has happened in American education is we have made everything a priority in our schools. And when everything is a priority, what happens, folks? Nothing is a priority.
Dr. Willard Daggett, a former school teacher and administrator who is now an expert on school reform, consulting nations that include Japan and Germany, founded his International Center for Leadership in Education to serve as a resource and catalyst for profound change. Daggett champions rethinking our priorities in education, including development of a more rigorous and relevant curriculum in math, science, and English language arts, a curriculum that makes sense from a practical as well as an academic standpoint.
Let me suggest to you, if you even remotely believe there is such a thing as a global economy, and the key to the global economy is highly trained human resources, the education of a nation, the education of an individual child, I want to suggest to you that we are in very, very serious trouble as a nation.
Daggett echoes voices in the metropolitan area who are advocating teaching academic material which underpins the workplace, because now more than ever, it is important students be able to convert what they're learning in school into relevant skills for an economy that is rapidly changing.
We find that our high school students, as they come to us for any part of our industry, are not right now qualified to enter. We think that the problem is that they are not seeing the relevance of what they are taught in school.
There are programs in place already on a limited basis trying to help students make the connection between knowledge and the skills needed in the workplace, like this job shadowing program for area high school students at a very familiar construction site.
The best part of staying out here with both brothers was basically that I got to see the different jobs that people do, and the most surprising thing about the knowledge was that the job requires math, and I really loved it. It was a good experience for me.
No one is suggesting we should stop encouraging our children to get a college education. In fact, everyone will ultimately need some form of advanced education. But even some college graduates are learning that their long-term success will depend on developing genuine, lifelong learning skills, including their critical thinking abilities. Louisiana lawmakers have already required communities and school districts to address curriculum and content reform anyway, which means right now presents an opportunity to create partnerships and tackle some of these issues, mindful of our need to catch up with the rest of the world.
The Louisiana Learn Commission has put together objectives for what we would like to see our students accomplish as we move to the 21st century. This includes increasing technology in our schools, having more accountability for what the schools are teaching students, and also increasing the participation with the schools, with parents and the community, so that everyone can work together to meet the needs of our children.
Change your lens in the bag, Shay.
The Tech Lab is an opportunity for kids to have exploration, to see, what's out there in the world as far as career goes, so they can begin to think about the future and not just end high school and go to college not knowing where they're going in life. So with that, they get a chance to explore. The teacher becomes a facilitator rather than someone who's just giving the knowledge out. And the kids get to work in teams, if you will, and cooperative situations, and they get to experience technology tied to those different careers.
The kinds of education changes being talked about do not come easily, and they cannot happen without consensus among the various stakeholders in our schools: parents and students, teachers and administrators, businesses, church, and civic leaders. The New Orleans River region is embarking on a number of initiatives when it comes to education, but change for the sake of change does not guarantee results. Making students priority number one means we must take the time to use the public workshops and forums scheduled across the metropolitan area this spring to focus on exactly what knowledge and what skills we want our children to receive in school, so they can be better prepared for a competitive workplace environment. This input will be collected and synthesized, ultimately resulting in a community blueprint for education reforms that everyone can support, because everyone helped to create the blueprint.
Agenda number one, start a massive public awareness program on the need for change. It's right in your priority number one. Number two, engage people in discovering what it is that needs to be done so they become a partner in helping change it. That is your public forums. Ask people what they want. And then the third and final thing for Metro Vision and all of you as a partner, nurture with every dollar you have and every ounce of energy you have the top 1/3 educators in your schools. And nurture them and empower them to be able to change.
It really is time to stop pointing fingers of blame when it comes to education. Time to start working together on ways to make our schools better for the sake of our children and for the sake of our society. Now, more than ever, it is time to make our students priority number one.